stages of meditation is going to go right through to the 21st of December. So we'll be continuing with this. And then there's also a holy day, I believe Lama Tsongkhapa Day. Manoshi may correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe that is next Sunday. I believe that is next Sunday. And so Geshe will give an oral transmission as part, we'll do our regular teaching, but Geshe will give an oral transmission of a beautiful praise by Kedrupje, one of Lama Tsongkhapa's two main disciples, that is recommended by Lama Zopa Rinpoche as something nice to recite on this special day. And so then in terms of upcoming programming, I would be remiss not to mention Annie Bien's talk on her book with Ryan is going to be coming up next Saturday. I believe that's in the usual time slot at around 10 a.m. So this is a book of, I guess, historical fiction would be the best way to describe it, about the sixth Dalai Lama. Annie co-wrote this with Bob Thurman, so she'll be giving a talk and doing an interview sort of situation with Ryan next Saturday at 10 a.m. Then that Sunday, we have this class. And then I should also mention that I believe it is the 22nd of this month. The 22nd of this month will be the Heruka Chakra Samvara commentary as usual. If you're interested in our other programming, like we have sometimes student-led sadhana recitations, group practice, morning meditations, all of those sorts of things, please sign up for our newsletter and that will keep you updated. I also try to post everything on our Instagram and Facebook as well. So it's a good idea to keep an eye on those in terms of programming. The big event that we have coming up as 2025 comes to an end will be on the 26th, 27th, and sorry, 27th, 28th, and 29th of December. Sorry, I'll say that again because I messed up the first time. 27th, 28th, and 29th of December. So this is going to be this year a Medicine Buddha retreat. It is connected with the initiation that Geshe gave in late October, but you do not need to have the initiation to participate in the practice. It is open to everybody. There will be 6 sessions, so 2 sessions per day. Because it's the post-holiday period, we weren't super ambitious with long sessions. Each session will be about an hour and a half. 3 of those will be led by Geshe, and so I believe that's 2 mornings and 1 afternoon will be led by Geshe, and 1 afternoon and 2 mornings will be led by other folks. So I believe it's Paula Chichester who leads our Vajrayogini practice for us here, Annie, who I just mentioned, and Dave. So this will be sort of a nice way to get the commentary of the sadhana from Geshe and also to practice with a few experienced practitioners and teachers from our community. So that will sort of wrap up the December month. And then the first weekend of January will be a break, but we will continue with the Sunday teachings after that week-long break with Words of My Perfect Teacher by Zapato Rinpoche. And I imagine, I spoke with Geshe about it yesterday, I imagine the side topic will continue with the 21 taras until we're finished, because I think at the pace we're going, it's definitely, we're not going to get through all 21 of the taras. So that is the sort of programming as we have envisioned it for the next little while. And if you have any questions, if you have any needs, you can always feel free to reach out to me by email. So having said that, as I go up and invite Geshe down, so one of our main volunteers, our treasurer, Katrina, Katrina would like to share a few words with the community. So while I go upstairs, I'll give her the opportunity to do that. See everybody in a minute or two.
Thank you, Kendra. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Katerina, and so I've been treasurer and a board member for Lama Yeshe since, I would say 2018, 2019. So it's been it's been a long time, and so and I wanted to share with you a reason I donate and also volunteer for Lama Yeshe Ling. So when I joined Lama Yeshe Ling in 2018, our donation revenues were very low. I think it was around 10K per year. And also we didn't have a physical center. We didn't have a regular teacher. So we are a very, very small organization. And since 2018, we have grown a lot. Now we have Kendrupla, we have Geshe, and we have a physical center. And our revenues donation, because of your generosity, have increased a lot. But at the same time, because our center have grown, also our operating expenses have grown a lot. And so you can and as you know, you can check our financial statements and our expenses and revenues on our on CRA website, Canada Revenue Agency website, where we report everything. So one of the so just as an example of our operating expenses in Canada, we are federally incorporated soliciting charitable organization. So if our revenues are more than $50,000 per year, we have to do a financial statement review, which means we have to hire external auditors to do review our financial statements. And since so we have reached that point in 2023, but what it means is that we need to spend 5,000 per year on professional services. That's that's a really big expense that we have to endure. So this is an example of how organizations have grown, but also and expenses have grown. And so me as a my personal reason for donating is because I know our finances. I know that we need money. And also I have purely selfish and personal reason is because as much as I want to spend and learn Dharma, most of my time on Dharma, and I don't have time. As much as I want to, I don't have time. And as Lama Zopa have mentioned, that by helping the center, we're helping other people to learn Dharma, to develop the bodhicitta. So it's for the benefit of others. So I cannot benefit as much as I want to, but I feel like the easiest way for me, which is true, the easiest way for me sometimes is just to provide money, financial compensation, so our organization can grow, and also time. So that's, and plus also another selfish reason is, it's a practice of generosity. You create positive karma. It's also very easy for sometimes you just kind of in the when you don't have time. This is my personal reasons is that I when I donate to Lama Yeshe Ling, I rejoice in the fact that I will get some positive seed in the future. In maybe something in the future life, I'll have more time, and hopefully I'll have the benefit of having access to Dharma. So and I thank everyone for your generosity as well. Yeah, that's it. And we are, just FYI, we're looking for volunteers in GTA areas. Please come and help us. And thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right, everybody. So welcome. Thanks so much. And we'll get started. Just making sure the sound is okay. The picture looks good, actually. I just want to adjust one thing, make the lighting a little. This is one. Oh, sogi.
뭐야 강가타시 데레
So
어거데
can everybody hear Geshe-la's voice clearly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic.
어다 강가 타자스
Chik masa
Ah,
san.
okay.
Chik
하트레 티 코미타 기제데 촐라토 사르다
Trollo, trommer.
도도 코미타 도제 저거 넣었어
Did
아 코미타 도도 예 이거 넣었어
Ale. Yeah. Sorry.
나네
Sorry about that. I spilt my water. So
세세세 괜찮아
there we go.
뭐야 다 치료 강가타시 데레도 강가타네 레레 시와야 보여 요비라와요스
So Geshe-la hopes that everybody is well, that everybody is happy, and most of all, he hopes that you have a relaxed and open mind.
어다 가로서 어느 자다 레가체 데야데 자세 첨보 샤와라 신주 첨보 놀라 고나 라와 먼지 니데 공유에마 이스레 달라자 첨보지 요아레스
Koma song chikyong.
고나 라와 먼지 로 고마이나
Ale.
가리이나 tane jo lila bo chagres te
And
kalere
Geshe-la reminds you of the quote from the Bodhisattva Charyavatara by the great master Shantideva, that there is nothing that does not become easier with familiarity. There is nothing that does not become easier with habituation.
알레빙이나 어다 던지지 예상 알아서 어다 조조다 대시 니네 보게 가르세 가 템보게 대시 저발라 이니미 로요포테 다 공바치 먹고 가레스
So if we want real happiness, right? If we want lasting happiness, what we have to do is habituate ourselves to positive and wholesome minds in order to achieve stability.
어다 데레 어느 저체 가르레스는 다 데듀 가르이나요 조조 아니 다 jelti 바레 대용 더니 농기 저셀 투바레스
Why is this? Because we know that happiness and suffering arise from causes. And we know that the main causes of happiness and suffering are not outer causes, but inner causes.
어다 실로그 젤라 때네 대시 대야도 못 보여 가서 하고 그러왔어 어다 이나요 니네게 대시 보게 가르세 가레 콜 데피칼라요 대시 템보지 용와라 이니 멘지 농게 셀 디그야레스
So we know what the outer causes of happiness are, right? The enjoyments, the things that give us pleasure. Those are easier to identify. So, but it's also important to keep in mind that even within samsara, those more stable kinds of happiness, the more lasting kinds of happiness, this is cultivated on the basis of inner causes.
다체 도보도 다 답이 대시도 사 손지게 대시 뜻이 먹어와라 왔어 콜 데피칼라요 대시 템보지 저발라 이니 멘지 농게 다세 템보지라 되네 저그야레스
So it's really important to state this clearly because it's not just the ultimate object of attainment, Buddhahood, or the bliss of liberation, moksha, that require cultivating these inner causes. Even a sort of more lasting type of worldly happiness within samsara requires the cultivation of these inner causes.
어다 던지지는데 스테요 로 요버스 데아데 아니 로 테프게 대시 저발라 자테 체마 요바지이나
Yeah.
어다 로 요버 콜 드네 자테 체마 메바이나 로 노아스 요레스
So how do we identify wholesome and mistaken minds? How can we differentiate between the two? One way is to think that does the mind that is coming forth have its grounding in a valid reason, in the basis of a logical reason? If it does, chances are it is a wholesome mind. If it has no grounding in reason, then the chances are that it is a mistaken mind.
어다 나저 요버다데스 좀바도 니지 다 던지게 다 시라 비타포 테르지라 자테 체마 쇼지네 자테 체마 템보 요아레 쇼지네 여 통제를 보게 좀바도 니지세 생제 요조를 보게 차도야 코로스 내서 요버지 요아레스
So if you look at that, right, and you compare, for example, mistaken or unwholesome minds with the minds of love and compassion, or with the mind of wisdom in terms of the object,
세르 좀바도 니지세나 아니 뭐 요조 로 요조를 보게 차도야 코로시에 도야 코로 내서 요아레스 다 야다 갈래 그래 용거 같이
Ale,
제가
yes.
산다고
So if you look at minds like love, compassion, and so forth. Another reason they can be designated as wholesome is that they are expansive, right? Ultimately, love and compassion have as their basis an awareness of all sentient beings.
어다 컨트롤도 내줘도 컨트롤도 다 던지자 라바이나 어떤 것도 가리이나 생지 요zul을 보게 차도야 걸어서 그냥 쓰지 요마레스.
If you look at mistaken minds like anger, like attachment, and like other types of false or mistaken perceptions, they do not have a rootedness in a vast outlook like all sentient beings, right? So this is another way to distinguish between wholesome and unwholesome minds.
어다 채워 먹은데 와서 자대 수지는 자대 채마 여맥이 채워 우래라. 아니 수지는 생지 요zul을 걸어 차도 뭐도 채워 침보지 요레스.
So this is, one way to help us identify what should be taken up and cultivated and the mistaken minds that we want to minimize. One way to do this is to look at whether the particular mind is grounded in reason or not. The other one is to consider whether the mind has a vast basis of cultivation, such as all sentient beings or not.
어다 던지지랜데 사 던지지 이장 알아서 세 롱지 코롤 다세 코로그 얼마데레 되니 이나요 쇼바도 이지 단계라바 노지 세지 요조게 뛴도 보겐도 토야다 대노다 땜버진도 토야진 거 알아서 본바이나.
So this is a really important thing to keep in mind, and also to have confidence that due to the nature of the mind, its clear and knowing nature, that minds like love and compassion, which are rooted in a consideration of all sentient beings, can, on that basis, be brought to perfection, be made fully powerful.
어다 던지고 걸어서 니빠죠 그게 미자 체주라 때네 아니 니빠 체주야 이자 니빠 체가 뒤추한테 간된데 과토 그러봤어.
So this basis of reference, right, and how vast it is, whether it's just, a couple of beings or all sentient beings, this is a very important consideration, because if you think about it, those mistaken minds are coming from a very small sort of causal basis, whereas these powerful minds like love and compassion are coming from an extremely vast one. And that's why those minds are powerful and can be made more powerful.
어다 던지지자 어다 코알 데비칼라이 대시 여보지 이나요 세계에 공부한테 같이 뭐 다 다두게 되시죠 델리죠 같이 물어봤어.
So, within samsara, developing our positive mental qualities are important even for happiness in daily life. And what need we say that they are even more important when we come to the ultimate goals of full enlightenment and liberation.
다 데레 다 데는 알아서 다 매일 레벨 다 로빠 요아쇼데 센지들이 대시와라 다 로빠 요아쇼데 소소 드바종 사테니다 현다 생지 현다 시험토하나 보지레스.
So one of the things that our human form and our human mind provides for us, which is sort of really helpful in our development of positive mental qualities, is a way to engage with our full intelligence in the accumulation of merit and the purification of obscurations. Other sentient beings can't do that in such a full way.
어다 루소솔다 여보 소노 또와이네 디빌레세 가제이나 뭐고 śamatha 코치 하소나 다 마시 마토 디세 질 된다 아마도 샤마카디나 하고 말아 안다스테이션 수자마가 된다 디세 질 콜레니 강게테 타 쳬바지레스 코메와조 마토나.
And so the purification is very important, because if we accumulate an unwholesome cause, the question of whether it is going to ripen into a result or not in the absence of an antidote, this is settled. It will definitely come to a result. It's only a question of when, could be this lifetime, maybe even a future lifetime.
다테 너더니 세노사에 다테도 나원다워지레스 매일 레반데 델리 야가치 다 세노사 타요 말레스.
And similarly, the accumulation of merits in terms of our capacity to do this, one of the best forms to be able to do this is the form of a human being. Other sentient beings can't engage with it in the same way.
다 가져토다니바 대그야레스.
And so, as much as possible, we have to recognize that within ourselves, that special potential.
그래 마도 첸디게 된다 집을 라바이나 단로르지게 당 안절을 하라서 토끼 뭐야레스.
And we have to make sure that we use it for the benefit of something beyond just this lifetime. Because if we're using this human form just to achieve short-term benefits of this life, even animal beings are very capable of doing that, and we would not be so different.
당가서 지치는 게 뭐셔 그래 왔어 또 막 가시겠던 로트 그리라 샤차야던 내서 뭐야.
So there's a lot of stories in the scriptures that maybe seem a little bit unusual, where the holy beings, they offer prostration to various animal beings.
어다 제세 뭐지요 알아다. 저도 손지그리 사다 손에 저리 자 전부터 세제 관계질 요약 제세 지고 요아래 쇼진에 로가 당가서 만우지 내가 시야겠다 내가 뒤자 제도 요 말was.
So there's a few possible reasons about why they might offer this prostration to the animal being, right? The first is that we know that the animals, in common with all sentient beings, share the Buddha nature, the Tathagata Garbha, the potential for enlightenment. Therefore, they are worthy of prostration. We also know that animals, although they might not be engaging in sophisticated actions, they are not engaging in terrible actions that harm others, the way some misguided human beings do. And therefore, their humility is worthy of prostration.
어다 깨지야 어다 되지 어다 알게 좀 봐도 어다 들리지래 들리지 이사 다 단계 자세 좀 보셔라 권을라 뭐지 니데 권에 많이 세야데 고잡이가 로조셰비가 가디나 가도 야게야다 갈라자 침부지레스.
So having said that, just to kind of close off that conversation, on the basis of this understanding, keep the words of the son of the conquerors, Shantideva, in mind. There is nothing that does not become easier through the power of habituation, through the power of familiarity. And hold this in your mind in regards to your study and practice.
어다 근데 저도가로 소리 담아라자로 왔어. 그놈아 맞든지 자서 손주세세 자 첨부들에 동반이서 자 첨부들에 되니나 이네요 시라테도 다더니 셰토가나 맨한다 버나지. 야 저쪽에 가라.
Yeah.
어다 대지셔라. 어다 벤조 할레부터는 로스 첨부터는 그거 말다스.
Yes.
Yes.
So Geshe often tells the story, and he won't tell the whole story, but he'll just remind you in brief, which is often recollected by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of his teacher, Kunu Lama Tenzin Gyaltsen. And so His Holiness, when he was younger, he said, is bodhicitta really possible to bring forth? Is the wisdom realizing emptiness really possible to bring forth? And Kunu Lama Tenzin Gyaltsen said, absolutely, they both are, and they do not require the vast amounts of money and energy like so many other things in this world.
So
that's a big piece of advice for all of us, so hold it in mind. So, it's because those positive mental qualities, right? They're not physical things. They are cultivated in that place within our body, which is called our mind. Therefore, we need only our effort, not vast resources to cultivate them. And so that's why it's also really important that in addition to taking care of our body, we want to take care of our mind, to protect it from agitation, to keep it open and relaxed. And it's a little bit more difficult actually than taking care of our physical health, because we know that our mind is not sort of encumbered by a physical form. It can go to any thought in any direction in any time period, right? So the difficult directions that it could go to are sort of endless. So therefore we have to take special care of it. Things that are our business, we worry about. Things that don't particularly concern us, we worry about. And we create so much negative mental energy that way.
다시 동바 가시가 다니 룸보친 용발 배자야. 가시가 비울 배자야. 다 강간다 버려야 그래서.
And this is not just Geshe saying this. This is in the scriptures, the scriptures where the holy beings compare our mind to a wild elephant, compare our mind to a busy monkey, right? So the untamed mind is something like that. Chuchik ale loso. Chaba dankare bara? Lamboche. So Geshe is asking you to recollect, and I don't know, maybe somebody can put an image in the chat if they have it. If you recollect the image that is used to illustrate the 9 stages of calm abiding. And so if you know that image, you know that there is like a monk, an elephant, and a monkey. And actually, in the traditional way that image is depicted, in the first stage of calm abiding practice is depicted as the monk standing across. Hagosung monk. Monk's in the chapa. That's a monk. Monkey mare, monk. Monk and monkey do sound the same. It's true. Yeah. So this monk is standing across the river, and there is an elephant on the opposite bank. This is how the depiction should be traditionally. For a fully qualified image of the 9 stages of abiding. Unfortunately, these days, a lot of images don't have all the important aspects. So the first time meditator, he or she is like that monastic standing across a river, and the elephant is on the bank on the other side. So what does that So what does that represent? Think about that. Any ideas? So sorry, not going fast enough apparently. So it represents the fact that the monk represents the physical body of the meditator. The elephant represents the mind of the meditator. So it represents that the practitioner cannot keep their mind within the body. They cannot keep their mind under their control. It's uncontrolled. So we can understand that if we aren't even able to sort of keep our mental energy focused within ourselves, within our body, it is going to be very hard to tame our mind. And if our mind is constantly outside ourselves, out of control, and going in every direction, then that cannot be of benefit. We will only face difficulties. Just looking for sorry, shokuji kawaji shokuji mena chetuki omareta. Shokuji tesku. Yare. That's awesome. Listen. Tambo? Ale, loso, hakusung. Yeah, hakusung. Yendal dirwa. So Geshe is looking for a quote that I happen to have on one of my recipe cards that is very disorganized. And these relate to instructions on how to calm our mind, according to the very precious teacher Panchen Losang Chökyi Gyaltsen. And there's actually 6 methods. This is one of the lesser known. And And so some of these examples are specific, but this example is one that applies just as validly to a beginner meditator as it does to one who is already a bodhisattva meditating upon emptiness.
다 들이 간조 조 가를 빼자 가르세나. 다 나로서 배나 샤 노칼 샤트 노칼 펀로와 이나. 나로서 고런로리 지지 용거로 왔어. 바자사 지지. 샤트 노칼 페이칼 지문다와 요 말레스. tumba지 마도 만디고 하스.
So this example compares a person walking on land to a bird gliding in the sky. The person walking on the land leaves a footprint with each step in the soil. The bird that glides in the sky leaves no sign of their having been there at all.
다 나로서 된 누지 마체바체 셀다 니모 가지 세 고를 루마테 연에 세로죠 여보지래 되네 이나요 될 대초 공조 드리시에서나 다 디쇼는 디질은 로네라 아니 노돈 담만다 저 담만다 드네 셀 강에 되게 알아있어.
How does this relate to our mind? Our mind's fundamental nature is a little bit like the sky, right? It is neutral, but it is also vast and luminous. However, we allow the afflictions to come into our mind. Those afflictions create latencies or imprints, like those footprints in the soil. The more of those that there are within the mind, the more the mind becomes disturbed, the more the mind gives rise to false projections.
다 된다 럼바 동보 될 대지 고나요 노도 이너레 초와두자 이너레 니모 뒤에서라서 바 니모거리 이너레 가리 이나요 다 펴도 문두서 바 델레레 되게 소마치 거요 알아있어.
So how do we try to stop putting those footprints in the mind, which will busy the mind and block our cultivation? When we sit down for the teaching, when we sit down for the meditation, we begin with a determination. I am going to do my best not to allow aversion, not to allow attachment, not to allow anger to arise.
다른 게 거지.
So I'd like to read you just the whole verse from Losang Chökyi Gyaltsen. I thought that, Geshe said maybe a good idea. People might like it. So, for example, just as a bird leaves no trace in the sky after flying, whatever pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feelings arise, do not let them empower the influence of attachment, aversion, or delusion. That's what leaves those footprints and blocks us.
다 뭐서 못하거든요. 아마도 아니 저도 게르기 쇼네라. 아니 배트 파과기 강에 tekise 강가 파과기 있어요. 저와슈 접어토니 말레이시아 기리 뭐용이야.
So within the Gelug tradition, in terms of how to handle the mind during meditation, many of the scholars and meditators sort of advised this process of recognizing the affliction or the distraction and immediately trying to push it out of the mind or trying to cease it. Other schools, they point to this sort of strategy and they critique it, saying that if we're constantly worried about distractions arising in the mind, and if we always bring force to try and push them down, this is actually going to disturb the mind more than it calms it.
So
Geshe said that, not entering into that debate because it's going to be different for each person, but what he would advise is that before you bring forth your main topic of the meditation session, take a moment to settle the mind and to tap into the fundamental nature of equanimity, of that basic mind. That is going to be very helpful. So a little bit of a long introduction today. Let us begin our meditation. So we just want to make sure the sound settings are good for everybody.
세 조대 마도 다 노도도 저 좀해 봐 강가 다 봐. 좀아서 있어.
So to begin, tame the outflows of your mind. Imagine that like breathing ha on a mirror, as the breath condenses into one point, bring in all of the distractive, discursive minds and center.
소원자 만자 노톤자 만자 가르 이나요 다 좀해 세 가르 이나요 당게 노지 뭔가를 샤파와 노지 지메바 노지 그 고나요 쇼스로 그메 레레 내기 somebody.
Whatever feelings arise, whatever thoughts arise, even whatever distractions arise, let them be like a bird in the sky, not stirring the reactive mind. In this way, remain calm and open.
지메베 나카 도만노 이스타 세 조마 도마 오다 사와든지 레레 시와야 보초송 somebody.
In this way, imagine that like a cloudless sky, our mind is clear, calm, malleable, undisturbed.
나카 tum바티 노라다 샤완담 만다 가르시바 이나 이셰지요바 노지사 셀루마티 티 몰타 아니 야가 가르 시와 이나이다 시토야다 든지그세 그런지 요바지.
Appreciating this neutral ground of equanimity that is the fundamental mind, which is like the empty sky. Understand it gives us the space, the freedom to cultivate any thoughts or activities we choose. If we choose wholesome, good thoughts, and so forth, these can be brought to perfection through the spaciousness and the power of this mind.
든지가 루마데가 세 롱지 야보데 아니 롱 소소긴 다 somba zumbo 또 체슈가 세 지금 거야 시기 somebody.
Seeing the powerful nature of this fundamental mind of neutral equanimity, bring forth the wish to cultivate the most powerful intention possible within it. Bring forth the wish to generate loving kindness.
야보 지네사 소소레고 고시네 따와이나 코알 데비칼라요 코알 조이칼라이나요 다 대시 간리지이나요 조조 다 열라들이 영화 자세 종조레도 somebody.
To cultivate this mind, a good way to do this is to contemplate other sentient beings. Think our being able to stay and live within samsara, our ability to go and perform activities within samsara, all of these arise only due to the kindness of others. Our day-to-day happiness, our month-to-month and year-to-year happiness, being able to have clean water to drink, being able to eat well, the place where we dwell, all of these things, it is very clear, arise in dependence upon the labor of others. Therefore, the root of happiness is this mind of loving kindness, through which we can truly accomplish the welfare of others. In order to bring forth this mind of loving kindness in a stable way, exactly as we wish, with single-pointed focus and faith, we will make requests to the holy beings for their blessings. So we'll begin with the praise to the Buddha, short prayers today, and then the mandala and the refuge. Dēmbā chōm dēndē dēshīn shēbā rā chōmbā yāndā bā zōbē sāngē rēbā dāng shāb sū dēmbā dēwā shēbā shēdēn gēmbā chēbū dūwē kālō jūrwā lānā mē bā lādāmi namgi temba sangye chomdende bejawa shakya tubala chazelo chede kyabsuji ho temba chomdende dijin sheba drachomba yanda ba zobe sangye sheba dan shabsu demba dewa sheba shiden chemba chebu dewe kalo jurwa lana meba ladami namgi temba sangye chomdende bejawa shakya tubala chazelo chede kyabsuji ho temba chomdende dijin sheba drachomba yanda ba zobe sangye sheba dan shabsu demba dewa sheba shiden chemba chebu dewe kalo jurwa meba ladami namgi temba sangye chomdende bejawa shakya tubala chazelo chede kyabsu chi ho. Mandala offering. So ji pege je me to jan ri ra lin ji ni de gya ba de song ge shin do me de bo wa ge jogo nan da jin la je ba sho e dam guru ratna mandala kam niryata ya mi. Refuge and bodhicitta. Sonje chedan sogi chenam la jangje badu dani gyabsu ji
dagi chinyin gibe sunamge jola benje sangye joba sho chedan sogi chenam la jangje badu dani kyasu chi dagi chinyin gibe sunamge jola benje sangye joba sho chedan sogi chenam la jangje badu dani kyasu chi dagi chinyin gibe sunamge jola benje sangye joba sho.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, decent. So I'm just going to adjust the sound. Sorry, bear with me. It does help folks have a better experience away from this. So Geshe said that it was a bit of a long preamble, so we are going to kind of get to business as quickly as we can. Lots of, I guess, like preliminary practice advice today, right? So just to bring forth a stable motivation within the mind. Bringing the four elements into balance, relaxed. And really think, that guarding my mental health and keeping my four elements in balance, this is one of the most important things to do. So for a moment, don't grasp onto any particular object within your mind. Just completely release all thoughts and rest in that stillness for a brief moment.
Mi konyo meba ina lele do chawa do tal tezi yuare teni ina yo tempa do shira kare ina yo pedo meba ita ta mi ba yeba tuni ta pa yun junga be tuni nindo yi sombachi.
Meditating in this way without holding any object, it's very relaxing and stilling for the mind. But in the absence of an object of focus in our meditation, we won't be able to develop mindfulness. We won't be able to develop wisdom. So with that understanding, take as your object of focus the rising and falling of the breath.
Chungka gazes shalando su sile su ji ani ni ta chungka mano yi tuni kaze tata.
So we want to have an unmistaken and continually mindful count of 9 sets of inhalations and exhalations. That's the goal.
Lutsuma se tsuma ga chet ta lele jine tsitene tema song des gone.
To do a final clear of the prana, the inner winds, as well as the mind, do 3 deep inhalations, hold, exhale, hold, inhale again, hold, exhale again. Do this 3 times.
도지 첨부 잘라 첨부지 파자바 노지 다 리데와 세크유바 텔레요 소바지.
The body feels at ease, the mind feels open. The feeling is similar to when we set down a very heavy burden that we've been carrying.
다 레바 고시네 따와 이는 다세 고시와 이는 나로서 밀린들 다 된도 체주도야 저 토야 오늘 유주 생지 유주가 다 대침모돼야 다 레가 침모지요 소바지.
So having activated this mind and this power, we want to dedicate this to the biggest purpose possible, which is to achieve the state where we can bring maximum benefit to the welfare of all sentient beings.
우주 간에 체주 간지지 있나요? 매와서야. 대시 체주 간지지 있나요? 진짜야 당하로서 달량게 체주, 량게 자 체주, 뭐가 체주지 소바지.
And by the welfare of sentient beings, we mean clearing away even the greatest difficulties that they experience, bringing them towards the greatest, most lasting happiness possible, guiding them to that stable happiness, which, as they have been kind to us, is our personal responsibility.
다다 네pa 만두테니 이나요 다 팀바 요산 로사지 요아레 로사테 가르레스는 다른 바je 다 손지세야 돼 좋아서나 강가저 토요 이자다 디치 신체 대도기 제드나 손지 차도 봐서 이 소베토네 손지세.
We may think, I'm limited right now. I don't have the power to lead beings to welfare, to benefit in this way. But there is a way to come to that power. If we achieve the state of complete and full enlightenment, we will have every capacity to benefit all sentient beings, to lead them to the state of peace. Therefore, bring forth bodhicitta, thinking I must achieve enlightenment in order to accomplish the welfare of all beings.
든지게 내서 자 체수 다 대시 관계가 자와라고 든지게 자 첨보데 미 첨보 그 뭐데 벤조 첨보 그 뭐데 다 우르소서 다 잘라 강가 돼야 강가 세게 놓을 다 대하래야 내서 지레 손바지.
In order to be able to achieve this, the root of being able to be of benefit, to contribute to the happiness of all beings, this doesn't require extensive finances, it doesn't require fame or a big reputation. All of it happens through the qualities I develop in my mind. Understanding this as the goal, this is something that should bring joy in our cultivation. So we'll pause there.
어떤지와시 다 던지게 다 나로서 나가세 대야 단계라바 뭐지 실로 지에들 디고만 와 소소 셀트데야 이다 다 할래야지 그래서 얘네 여보잖아 가서.
It's actually pretty amazing when you think, right, that the ultimate sort of goal of human life is something that doesn't have to be cultivated on the basis of collecting extensive external resources, right, which would be sort of not so equal, right? It is something that happens only through the inner qualities that we develop within our mind.
어떤가로서 시바 돈바솔라 띠데야 하고 근데 와서 다 답이 조준을 전에 다 더토기 가세 용이야 할래야레스.
Agi?
Think
Think about all of those beings who are holy beings now, right? They are people who practiced in caves, who practiced in huts, right? These are some of the most accomplished practitioners we have.
다 된다 소소 돼서 가와이는 있는 저 도약에 내서 강가 요아레스 잘라 강가 대이스 요아레스.
So that means that wherever you abide, no matter how elaborate or humble it may be, that place is definitely good enough, is definitely perfect enough to achieve the inner transformation that you seek.
다 내서 따다 여보 마시는 루서서 내가 마셔 봐야 마도 잘라 총매 받더니 말해.
So if nothing is coming, right, or our wished for results of our practice are not coming forth, this isn't because we don't have a nice enough house or apartment, right? This is because we haven't been dedicating enough time, energy to that process of cultivation.
다 던지지 다 템보지 다 티소 고스 야마죠 그 요아이다 단단가서 티바도 솜바조 저기 요아레스.
So therefore, we understand that stability and continuity in training in hearing, contemplation, and meditation is important. And of course, now that we come to the lecture part of the class, this is mainly hearing and contemplation.
야, 다 가져라 방어지 존주지 세도 아니 또 돈이 또 비시라 체 도보 용알라. 다 신에도 하도 같이 뭐 이사다 뒤에 계정 뭐 용거 요아레스.
And so in order to be able to reach the goals that we have set out and to bring forth bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness, then a high level of practice in calm abiding and special insight, shamatha and vipaśyanā is necessary, and that is where we are in the text.
소소 드바중알 니네 퍼게다 대바도 이치 요나 루소서 다 템보 따야도 템보소노도야 같이 뭐레스.
And to really accomplish the accumulation and purification that are the basis of success in this, 다
다니마 로거로 와서 로비 갈라 제가 레레니 주대 된다 가세. 템보소야 같이 뭐레스.
Sorry, to make our approach to this text a true accumulation and purification of obscurations, as you engage with this text at home, you can try reading it aloud with focused and even attention. This is very helpful.
야, 다리에서 다시 와.
So we are on ngansokawa tsuchim nampar dakpa.
다 가서 신이 접발라 다 초모모 그거 요하라 와서 초디 가돌이 요하레스 저거
So then in terms of where we are in the discussion, we're in the part of the text that is talking about shamatha, calm abiding, and all of the various facilities, outer and inner, that we need to accumulate to have success in the practice.
야, 다 샤워 뭐 요서 뽕와 공시나. 동도와.
말해 ngansote yo mare. Tsuchim nampar dakpa kangshena.
다 대본 좀 마스 디세요.
lo.
샤워 뭐 선바테. 샤워 뭐 요서 뽕바 공시나. 뇨소라 소바 랭년바 요서 뽕바도. 첨바도라도 쇼와 고다 하죠. 멘디셰바 요서 뽕와.
Yeah.
So
Geshe wants to go just one sentence up, so we're going to repeat one sentence from the previous class. So we are on page 19, about halfway down. Not being involved in many activities refers to giving up ordinary activities like business, avoiding too close associations with householders or monastics, and totally abandoning the practice of medicine and astrology.
So
Geshe said, what do we mean in terms of So ordinary activities, Geshe is just kind of glossing this. These are activities that require a lot of socializing, a lot of conversations and engagements for the sake of that business or activity.
So
And so it also mentions medicine and astrology. You might ask, why is this the case, right? Medicine is definitely a very worthy and beneficial field, but it requires a lot of engagements with the patients and so forth. That doesn't leave a lot of time for developing calm abiding meditation. Yeah. Even more the case with astrology, right? So you have to look at the person's birth chart and where each star is in the sky and explain to them how this is going to impact their success or or failure in various activities, that's going to be very time consuming as well and not leave a lot of space for meditation.
tinti bachi tante dua.
Loso.
Ta jiba tsita nomba toba kongshena domba ni ka la yong rongji to chebe kana ma to wa do jibe lawi ja mandawa to. Ba me ba rana yong sheba jebe chije de sheba dong.
So the next one. So there is a sentence which was left out of the translation. I'm not sure why that was the case, but I'm going to give you the sentence anyway. So it says, when we speak of pure morality and we talk about the two types of vows, there are both the trainings in avoiding natural misdeeds and prescribed misdeeds. So then we continue with the text. Even in the case of the statement that a transgression of the hearer's vows cannot be restored, if there is regret and an awareness of the intention not to repeat it, and the awareness of the lack of a true identity of the mind that performed the action, or familiarity with the lack of true identity of phenomena, that person's morality can be said to be pure. Yeah, sorry. Geshe was asking why it's so long, because the English sentence takes like 3 Tibetan sentences and I didn't know where to stop. That's why that happened. My apologies.
Ta ngaro so magewa chala so bani ta rba je de yar was. O ta tandi ji ta tsito to ta nga so ngawa tela ronji ji kana ma to jebe kana ma to ni yar is.
So this, when we speak of rangshingit kana matoa, right, which is a natural misdeed, and when we speak about the prescribed misdeeds, this conversation is related to the ethics of abandoning the 10 non-virtues, right? A lot of us are familiar with that.
O ta ronji ji kana ma to asena shawa koro she tsari ni dipa. Dipa ndo yo na ronji ji kana ma to te domba ke je yo ma is.
So when we speak of a natural misdeed, this is an action which is by its nature something unwholesome, something negative. It doesn't need to have a vow to tell you that it is bad. It is by its nature bad. So that is a natural misdeed.
This one, pena senje se ba do senje le neba shi wala subata karache ba ina yo. Ko ani keche yo mar domba keche yo mar tanda ko mgewa isa dipa isa ani roji kana ma to achon.
So if we speak of killing a sentient being, or if we speak about causing pain, right, or torturing a sentient being, this is something that we don't need a vow to contravene, saying that this is a transgression. Why? Because we know that killing, that harming, that causing pain to another being is by its nature a negative thing. So it is a natural misdeed. Rangjingi kanamatoa.
Ta te domba le chutu ya mare. Ta chevi kanamato asen ta indi me domba le ni la. Te donga sona. Ani chevi kanamato asen.
A prescribed misdeed is different. This particular action is a misdeed mainly on the basis of the fact that it goes against a vow that we have taken. We have made the promise in the context of the vow, and the activity, right, breaks that promise. So that is a prescribed misdeed.
Ta telan damanda yare roji kanamato yamba do mayimba nazu yare is.
Yeah, and niga yopa niga mayimpa. And so, some deeds niga yimpa yore.
Yeah. So di nolola.
Yeah.
Chevi kanamato nolola.
Yes. So within this category of prescribed misdeeds, we need to flesh it out a little bit more, because there are some that are only misdeeds because they are prescribed. It's a misdeed because you're going against a vow you took, and that's the only reason. But there are other prescribed misdeeds that also have an aspect of a natural misdeed. In other words, it's a misdeed both because you took a vow not to do it, and because the activity is by its nature unwholesome.
Ta kanamato senine chene lende ya po ichi yoke chi na. Ani teni ali yuado pasaja main jogrini. Meanwhile layal ducha imba.
Milayasana?
Ta roji kanamato chibi kanamato.
Kanamato. Yeah. Kanamato.
Me laya ina yo.
Oh, kane matwasana kane mayongya.
Oh, laya.
So this word for misdeed, kanamatoa. So, sometimes the Tibetan is important. So kanamatoa ka is mouth, right? Some of you probably know that. Ka is mouth. Matoa is like not able to utter. So it's something that is negative, therefore not suitable even to utter it by the mouth, much less to engage with it. So that's the etymology.
Pena mogedo.
I always say etymology and entomology
Yeah.
wrong. Sorry. So
Yeah. Mogedo matu sen te chi de lava zonjing anzo kibo me bachi. So ajung go yares.
again.
Mogedo matu sen na.
Yep.
Chi koro la yana anzo kibo me do.
Right. So for example, if you say war, conflict, or plague, just uttering that word already makes you unhappy, right? Just having the word exit your mouth makes you unhappy.
Wata tenda wachi tenda. Ngine so ta ota jogen to us. Ota te ni ji ngine le ta sonado. Ko kangechi ko ta chebanda wachi re de yares.
So if it's, difficult even to utter it from the mouth, then definitely if you engage in a misdeed of either kind, that is going to bring forth something unwanted.
Wata de logi ya wachi test ne te se juna che logi nyambo shi.
So yeah, so there's something related, an account that Geshe can share about this. So if there's time, he'll share that later.
Oh yeah. Tande diwa.
Oh, listen.
Je mandawa ta ko so. Ta pa me ba rana yo. Shepa je bis. Ko so.
Yep, how goes
Ta ta ka so nganzo joji ka logi sui sa ke che sa imbas go da.
So Geshe's just Tambodilo, okay? So Geshe is just glossing this part of the text. If there is regret and an awareness of the intention not to repeat it. So he wants to relate a story here.
So this is to halo sa imba tangi. Shepa se na. Katu le pa me ba so ya.
Yeah.
Ha ko so. Ke ta ji diwa.
Yeah. So an intention not to repeat it, but Geshe is also saying that there's a mind that wishes nyampo lam sang soeda, which
tenda me ba so ya dipat.
There is a mind that also wants to get rid of the misdeed immediately. So that's not conveyed in the translation here, but there is a mind that also wants to get rid of the misdeed completely.
Ta joji pa de ade sha pe la ta ko ro to lo ma mo tu nyondo pa sin ro ga was. Ta sa ya yan dal ro bi kal.
And this directness of wanting to address and purify the misdeed immediately, this was embodied in the life of Atisha, Lord Atisha. Many of you will be familiar with the story. If he thought in his mind that he had committed a transgression, even if he was with his students riding on horseback to another destination, he would stop, get off the horse, and immediately confess the misdeed. Atisha's students complained about this, of course, because it's a little bit annoying when somebody is getting off the horse and stopping the whole caravan many times on a journey, right? And it makes getting to your destination take a little bit longer. So they complained to him and said, it's okay, just wait until we get there and then you can confess. There's no need to do it like right in this moment. And Atisha answered honestly that who knows if I'll live through the day or through the night for sure. So important to purify now. So that is a person who, in terms of an unwholesome deed, really embodies this idea that a misdeed is unsuitable even to utter, right? It's so uncomfortable that you want to address it immediately. Because, right, if you just leave it aside, you know that it is going to lead to problems for you, without a doubt. That's where that sense of urgency comes from. But we're all pretty confident, pretty brave people, so most of us are content to leave it aside, at least for a little while. We don't have this sense of urgency about purification. Yeah.
Choro ropa kanga.
Yeah.
Se choa nuji res.
Chak
Don nuji.
Yeah.
Karo kaze la mala na nyoa ro ma res.
Yeah.
Nanga ngisho res.
Ale, tanze maripa gimse chene.
Maripi la res.
Yeah.
Dame tu vishiral.
Okay. Kale sungtang kyoru drogi this kale sungtang.
나저 말이 비가 다음에 또 위시라 가르라 말했어.
Yes, how
저러 빠빠 가제 라바 깨체체 봐이나요.
Su, cherong se na sure.
다음에 또 위시라.
Ale, losa.
아, 저때 깨체체 나니 말.
Losa.
저러 가제 라나 깨체체나 마셔. 저러 쇼는 로키 라고 말했어.
Yes, okay.
저러 깨체체사 강가 세돈 좋아 노지레 노았어. 저와 노지메케.
Gewa droshi megen.
어.
Ale.
강가 니쇼르레스 말이 비.
Yeah. Okay, so Geshe is relating an
What's
account. Peche, komasonga chana, sorry.
야, 다네 이제 마시기.
It's an account from the discussion between the ignorance grasping at the self and the wisdom realizing emptiness. Do sure, do toni tobe sherebre, do
돈이 또 위시라 저러 쇼는 로키 저러 깨체체사 말이지.
Yeah.
당당 알아서 세기 알아와.
Yeah, hagasong.
저 가제 라나 말라는 요한 로고 말했어.
So ignorance grasping at the self is saying to wisdom realizing emptiness that you can say whatever you want to this person because I have always been together with them, because they are habituated to me. Whatever words of wisdom you say, it is as if you are talking to a stone. 도당 개체시에다 보래던다.
강강이 오퍼레스.
Yeah.
강가.
Yeah.
저러 가젤라나 말라나 저러 쇼는 로키 라고 말했어. 강가.
All of these beings are habituated to me and are my servants. No matter what you say to them, they will not go in your direction.
하고서.
Yeah, yene do seria di kareres. So do da bochi.
제가 요새 알아서 세일 세기 말했어. 요한 로고 만두 와서 또 노지데 되더라.
So in this way, our mind is like a stone, right? It is very difficult sometimes to get it to change.
다 말이 뱉던지 계좌 보시고요. 데려다네 알아서 때에서 뽑아시네. 다시 내가 침을 찍어서 왔어.
So ignorance has some very convincing arguments, at least for us. And that is why sometimes, right, we're confident that we don't need to worry about things, that we actually should be concerned about.
딱 알아서로 통치소고요. 아래 계좌 보시고요. 강가 가디기나 그러고 여보 있어요.
Yeah, so ignorance grasping at the self, sometimes it's flattering us, sometimes it's putting us down or making us lose confidence. But whatever's happening, it's always influencing us to go in its direction.
된다 가르세요. 알아서 다음에 고토고 말했어. 보시고요. 알았어.
So in this text, basically, ignorance grasping at the self is making the argument why, this person is never going to be able to meditate successfully upon selflessness.
다시 보네. 다 되었지.
Yep.
다 녀티체 돈발로 폼바치스 모르와 숨바 고년바 대라yon 제바도 담바도 저봐 팀마샤이 세도 담바도 세 공개레테 시비 세텔라 ngo니 메바 소소토비 셔롬 시토제 ngo니 메바 곰비셔 디 쓰다노바토바 코나연바 제바샤고.
So Geshe is just reading the next part of the sentence, so I'll read it out. So regret and an awareness of the intention not to repeat it. So the next part, and the awareness of the lack of a true identity of the mind that performs the action, or familiarity with the lack of true identity of all phenomena. That person's morality can be said to be pure.
다 된다 됐어요. 아래 자 녀티건 도스는 시고서는 태맥이 다 도스는 그래. 녀티건 노는다와 집을 찾아봐이나. 아니 폼바이잘라 소바도 소맥이 레라 소바 들으셨으나 디파타 지베테 마마는 다 도고 말한다고나 들리게자 저도로 연구요. So
Geshe said it's not so clear. So it's not so clear from the text, right? But what is being referenced here is when what is being referenced here when it speaks of the hearer's vows, right? Kamalaśīla is speaking about the Vinaya, right? The texts on discipline specifically. And if you go just by what the texts on discipline state, if a monk, for example, commits a parajika, a defeat offense, there are 4 of them, or if any of us commit one of the 5 actions of immediate retribution, for example, killing one's father or killing one's mother, there is no way to avoid facing the karmic reaction of that misdeed. It is an action that will have definite retribution.
폼바 강가 말다 진짜도.
알레.
빼나 폼바를 리니야래.
알레.
폼바 제 소설 주소나.
야.
돈바 여기 줄 알아.
하고서.
아니 니때 돈바 폼바 되냐? 폼바 틀려서 이제 때 마사지 라그메 스타모는 송아저기 있어서나. 다들 체내 사지면 그잖아. Yeah, so Geshe also wants to explain about these pampaji, the 4 defeat offenses for a monk or a nun. The defeat becomes complete if
the person is thinking, I'm not going to tell anybody about this misdeed because I don't want to lose my ordination. Once that comes into mind, even just the thought of it, the defeat is a complete rupture of the vows.
하고서 다 폼바들레 산일 다때 나 네파 침보트닐레 녀소와서 메 다물 나기 소노 도소나 오테 메바서 유아레스 켄서
Mebaso yores digpadirwa, yene chapa de chogyomare, right? So it just important to have clarity here. So what Geshe is saying is that if you commit one of the 4 defeat offenses, what is known as a parajika in the Sanskrit language, then if you conceal it, the misdeed gets heavier and heavier. If you immediately confess it with the wish to purify, you can address the negative karma, but you cannot remain a monk. So once the offense happens, regardless if you tell someone or not, you cannot remain a monk.
다때 잡아니 깨지 집어마이 말다스 마로솔 디파스 레가시 조차소나 다데 스킬 라그명이 소마 동보적이서 네파티 저고 잡아 정도요.
So Geshe said this isn't something just relevant to monks and nuns, which is part of why he shared it here. It's to show the fact that if we do something that we know is wrong, and we have a wish to conceal the offense, to protect our image, to protect our reputation, that increases the negative potential of the breakage. So if we think instead when we make the mistake, we'll think, I definitely did something incorrect, so I'm not going to conceal this. I'm going to be open about it so that I can remedy and purify it. Of course, there is still some negative karma from the action, but that negative karma does not become enhanced and heavy as it would have if you concealed it. So even, after the action is completed, the way the mind is thinking about it and planning to handle it makes a big difference in the karma. So what stages of meditation is kind of alluding to here is that according to the Vinaya, to the discipline teachings, if you commit one of the 5 actions of immediate retribution, there's no way to really purify or confess that. It's not possible. But what it's alluding here is that in the Mahāyāna teachings, specifically in the teachings on emptiness, the wisdom realizing emptiness, if that can be cultivated along with confessing and purifying the misdeed through the 4 opponent powers, even a heavy action like the 5 actions of immediate retribution, the negativity of those can be greatly diminished, can be purified. The overarching principle here is that whatever misdeed we consider, if we engage in a practice of confession, which is enriched by bodhicitta and meditation on the wisdom realizing emptiness, there is no misdeed that cannot be diminished. And so at the end of this discussion, it gives a kung, a scriptural reference for this view. This is at the end of page 19. This should be understood from the Arya Sutra on the elimination of Ajata Shatru's regret. Loso. You should overcome your regret and make special effort in meditation.
야보 마시다 코로 빠바 잡으러와.
Yep.
하고서
Mhm.
다 코로 디지도 도보차. 하고서와.
Loso.
다 코로니까 자존이라 치기쇼는 소지 되는 매 봐서야.
Chugichone Sangichone de Segure.
야야.
Okay.
맞아요.
Loso.
아니 이때에서는 코로 빠바 잡으러와. 매 봐서야 가니 깨졌지 바로와.
Loso. So this is the story. So
깨질래라 어디 얘기네.
if it's too fast, I can't hear it, even if it's easy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. So in terms of this Ajata Shatru, this is often given as Mahindra. From Tibetan teachers, you'll hear the name Mahindra. So that's referring to this person. So this person was the son of a king, and he fell under the influence of a negative teacher. And that negative teacher told him that there were two people that he should kill: the king of Dharma matters, which was the Buddha, and the king of worldly matters, which was his own father.
어다 깨자 몸버려서 다 깨게니라와 룸보체 뇽바가 소지 되는 매 봐서야. 얘 깨자. 찌바 파진로 삼매봐. 찌바리 뭐 지게도는 소지 되는 된대죠.
Hallway double.
Yeah. 근데 룸보체 뇽바한테 저도 뒤도 저도 안 마동용이야.
And so Mahindra, he came up with his teacher, they came up with like many different plans of how to accomplish this. So one plan involved inviting the Buddha for alms, but having him walk down a long sort of walled path, and then sending an elephant on that path in order to trample the Buddha.
대저거를 다 손지 쪼된데 콜 다좀만 뭐요. 그거 뭐요. 세기가티디. 하고서라 다 룸보체 뇽바를 다좀만 간가 저요 아이다 퍼스. 근데 뒤에서
So, of course, this wasn't of any benefit, because we know that amongst even the Buddha's hearer disciples, there were many who possessed various miracle powers. So Geshe believes it was Nālandā, but anyways, one of these hearer disciples, they were able to kind of conjure up a spell, which was able to make the elephant go away.
다 그거고 다 손질 때와 할래 예를 만다요. 그걸 저요 말해. 그거 다좀 말아왔어.
네, 로스.
된다 저토요 말해.
하고.
자 이나요 손질 판전이라 소리.
네.
수기구발 판전이라. 너는 거 잘했어.
칸데스?
너는 손질.
도 수보올라.
된다. 구발은 전혀.
야, 수보올라. 선지촌데 수보올라. Kubasana?
kumani yaro sonji kumani pazunila.
Yeah. Huggerson. Okay. So then, so anyway, sorry. So the story goes, it's like, goes way too fast for me sometimes. So the story goes, sorry. Yeah. At this time, Ananda was not yet a hearer disciple. I'm sorry. You know the story about Ananda being kicked out of the Sangha and then becoming here? So Ananda was not yet a hearer at this time. But the rest of most of the Buddha's close disciples were already Shravakas, or hearers, who possessed miracle powers. So when they came to this kind of corridor where there was the elephant at the end, right, the other disciples, they were bringing forth miracle powers to subdue the elephant. But Ananda, not yet possessing those miracle powers, wanting to protect his master, he kind of grabbed the Buddha and placed him under his body as a protection. So at that time, though, before the elephant was able to get close enough to hurt the Buddha, and before the miracle powers of the other Shravaka disciples were able to be activated, the Buddha held out his palm like this, with his 5 fingers showing from underneath Ananda's body. And at the end of each of those 5 fingers was a snow lion, Sengerwa.
Yeah.
And from seeing the snow lions at the end of his 5 fingers, the elephant became terrified and walked in the other direction. So Mahindra, he saw this happen, and he thought, oh, this Buddha is a person of such cultivation. So this evil teacher who told me to kill him, he was definitely mistaken. That was definitely a wrong thing. Papa Nguma. Yeah, yeah. But in terms of the other plan to kill his father, by this time, before this happened, his father had already passed away. So although he was able to sort of withdraw from the second sin, the first one was already in play.
다 된다 처음에 라오스 좀 말해 디디 이나 제나 처음에 로도 이사 말해.
Ale. And so there was something about the way that the father died that it wasn't a complete action, one of the 5 actions of immediate retribution, but it was very close. It was a very heavy negative karma.
단다 이나 콜 디바 또 침부터 네 수용하래 되네 다 타마서는 손질을 건제된 야 이전에 대바시. 어느 손질 뚱반이 고자시네 뚱반이 건제 년년부 또지고. 아그서라 내가 때는 얘기가 통로도 봐 제대로.
Tunglam.
통로.
So King Mahindra felt great regret, and he went to the Buddha and asked for advice. According to the Buddha's advice, he engaged in the 4 opponent powers to purify negative karma, and he meditated very, very strongly on emptiness. Because of following this advice, he was able to clear away the negative karma, enough to the point that within that lifetime, he achieved the path of seeing. He was able to bring forth a direct realization of emptiness in his mind.
아그서라 다 드리게 다 안주 소소로 소소를 내가 여보 제나 원년부 또 이제 또 뚱반이도 손질 세스 니빠 드리지 와래.
So this is a really illustrative story because it shows us that no matter what mistakes we may have made in our life, the practice of the 4 opponent powers, bodhicitta, and emptiness can still make a huge difference.
다 디콘데레 리송아.
Los-
다 내가 너라. 아? 무슨 말이야? 내가 너랑 첸데도 첸마라 님이 넘버 몸보 저와 근거도 그나 소소 맞이 어제 맞잖아 마요 본도 내가 너랑 첸데도 또 뭔가 아니뇨다 다 맞잖아 내가 말이야 레테 리송아
Yep.
네 팔라가 메메
Kalaga.
뭔가 아니 제와도 파타 맞지
Yeah, so we're having a bit of a debate. That's not a debate. I was just saying let's do a little bit more of the text, maybe just a suggestion, not a debate. So we're going down through the text.
당아바 들어와 내가 너랑 첸데도 첸마라 님이 넘버 몸보 저와 일하시바 대도라 넘버 두바 뽕아샤고.
So being mindful of the various defects of attachment in this life and future lives helps eliminate misconceptions in this regard.
리송아 어떤 대비에 땡갈 가디나 당한저 세셜로 초대하대 예미데 돈이라 세까지 듣다 보자야.
So what this is saying is that we talk about, right, the 5 wonders or the 5 qualities of the desire realm, right? Pleasant sights, sounds, tastes, and so forth. If we understand their drawbacks a little bit, right, their sort of lack of solidity, this will stop the mind from going towards those outer sense objects as often.
넘바지드나 거인이 보 두바곰 머두바용 리데 두바세리 돈보테 차바시에서요.
Yeah.
머두바세는 콘로시에서요.
Some common features of both beautiful and ugly things in the cycle of existence are that they are all unstable and subject to disintegration. So beautiful, Geshe said, understand this in a broad way. That's any pleasing object that could give rise to attachment. Ugly, not just literally, understand it in a broader way. That's any object that could give rise to aversion.
대다 통제는 넘반지비 치제 못된바데 대마사와 대다 통제도 더 림보 못토반 라완잖아 더 대다라 지시 하바 잡발라서 반전요도 곰비 넘바토바 통제 봉하샤고.
It is beyond doubt that you will be separated from all these things without delay. So meditate on why you should be so excessively attached to these things and then discard all misconceptions.
어따때 먹고 싶으면 두와스 내외에 땡가라서 받은 가로서 잡바시에서 다 단다 쓰고도 요야가 다 내서 간지지나요. 할레비 잡바 가디는 거 거기 한번 노시기 세대다도 다야로 왔어.
Right. So this actually makes perfect sense, right? Whatever of those kind of 5 sense objects you want to think about, it doesn't make sense to bring forth a strong feeling of attachment towards it or to cling to it too tightly, because we know, right, that through the reality of impermanence, there will come a time when we have to be separated from that object. This is just a fact.
더 저거 서버레테 당인내래 되어로 왔어.
Yeah, so it's a heavy reality, but it's absolutely the way things really are.
다 당인은 로토케도 서래. 세계에 대도 세계시 디필레 게일레 대지레 되어res.
So what can really go with us long term? What will follow us into our future lives? The positive mental qualities we develop and also the wholesome and unwholesome karma that we carry. That is what is going to follow us. And so for this reason, not always going outwards, but training in hearing, contemplation, and meditation is important. So Geshe said that so this takes us to halfway down page 20, which concludes the discussion in stages of meditation on shamatha, on calm abiding. And so then the text moves on to special insight. So we will cover something from special insight next Sunday, but what Geshe is saying is that as well, he wants to give a brief presentation of the 9 abidings, the faults, and their antidotes. So that will also be part of his presentation next week. So this is really important, to be able to develop an understanding of how to develop calm abiding practically. So it's really helpful to understand what the 9 levels of abiding are and what the 5 faults that prevent us from developing them and the 8 antidotes to those faults are. So he'll share that with you a little bit in addition to Vipassana Special Insight next week. Within the scriptures of the Buddha himself, the Buddha advises his followers to familiarize themselves with the names and qualities of the 9 levels of abiding, as well as the 5 faults and the 8 antidotes. So these are things that we really all should know. Because if you're meditating, it helps to kind of have a map of where you're going. Otherwise, it just becomes sort of random, right? So this is very, very helpful. And so, as we mentioned at the beginning of the class, receiving the blessings of the holy beings, Geshe said, on that note, we should turn to the praises of Tara. So we will turn to the praises of Tara. Yes. So then we come to the name of the next Tara. And so the name of the next Tara, who is the 4th one, is known as Tara, crown jewel of the Tathagatas. Tara, crown jewel of the Tathagata. And she is said to possess a holy body that is yellow in color. So Geshe is reading from the verse. So I'll read Lama Zopa Rinpoche's translation. Homage to you, Tara, the crown pinnacle. So that's Rinpoche's word for Ushanisha, of those thus gone, whose deeds overcome infinite evils, who have attained transcendent perfections without exception, and upon whom the sons of the victorious ones rely. Oh, sorry. So sorry. So somebody sent me an email that that last week I may have said that in terms of visualizing the Tara, I may have mixed up the left and the right hands. So definitely possible. If that's the case, my apologies. So when we are thinking of how Tara's hands are, right, we should think that it is the... Yeah, now I'm afraid of making the mistake again. See, it is the... Yeah, see, this did my head in. So it is the left hand which is holding the stem of the flower and the right hand which is at the knee level. So I'm sorry if I reversed those last time.
공바.
샤. Yeah.
지마 좋은데와스.
Yep.
어다 매바서 그지 강가서 차와도 거기요래.
And so many of the taras have the yepa yumpa kangpa.
타이나다 저기 와스 공바인데 내마 좋아요지래.
Diamako.
어다 공바지마.
Dela kampa niga nanglola yeres hamako. Di chiklabna nguma ni minyoto she so also so choked in so north one chesangan tes shegidu kaila.
타와나 지르라 지. 팔라자 니가 먼저 서서 자기도.
So one leg is going outwards, which represents the subduing of the defilements and reaching out to help all sentient beings. The leg that is still in the meditative posture inwards, this represents developing and bringing in all positive qualities. And with this particular Tara, the crown jewel of the Tathagatas, because she is yellow in color, Geshe said you can also visualize the flowers blossoming at her ear as yellow in color. And then thinking of Venerable Tara in this form, we offer prostration to her. And in this particular verse, we praise Tara, crown jewel of the Tathagatas, based upon three characteristics. Suktor. So with Di tsuktor yepa sangegi yumchasango yimpig yumsen karere. Diapo komason. Ale. So we are praising her on the basis of the crown pinnacle that she has. The crown pinnacle, as Rinpoche says, or the Ushnisha, this is high. It's higher than in other deities because it represents that she is the mother of all Buddhas. She is the mother from whom all Buddhas come, and we offer praise to her based upon that. Yeah. Who have attained transcendent perfections without exception. Paro duchimba sutopsong jetsun droma giduja. Yeah. And so because Venerable Tara has achieved all of these perfections, not leaving out even one, this is another reason that she is worthy of homage. And she is the one upon whom the sons of the victorious ones rely. So who the bodhisattvas rely. That's what that means. Another reason to offer her praise. Yeah. So from amongst those who are not yet Buddhas, who are still technically sentient beings, the highest among those beings are the bodhisattvas who are cultivating the 1st to the 10th bhumis, the 1st to the 10th grounds. All of them offer you their reliance and prostration. So if they offer you this, then you are definitely worthy of my homage. And for this reason, then in the same way, I offer homage, I offer respect. So understanding this is why we offer her prostration to achieve our wishes. So this is the 4th of the 21 taras. I should specify, according to Atisha's tradition. If you read something else, it doesn't mean this is wrong. There's 3 or 4 different ways. So this is according to Atisha's tradition, number 4, Tara, crown jewel of the Tathagatas. So this crown pinnacle, or this Ushnisha, right? The fact that it is sort of so high and so identifiable, this sort of represents the status of Tara as the mother of Buddhas, as a supreme deity.
와야 되체 와야 봉가쇼.
So thank you. On that note, we will close the session. Let us lift our hearts and dedicate the virtues.
Changchu semcho rinpoche maje panam shechorchi chewa nyamba meba yang gone gondu bewar sho tongni tawa rinpoche maje panam shechorchi chewa nyamba meba yang gone gondu bewar sho Jambe Bao Jidar Kyamba Tang Kundu Zambo Deyan Dejin Deda Kungi Jesu Dalo Che Gewa Deda Tamshe Radungo Dusun Shebe Gewa Tamshe Gi Ngowa Gangla Chokdu Ngaba De Dagi Gewe Tsawa Dikun Kyang Zambo Cheji Radu Ngowa Gi Gangri Rawe Kowe Jingkande Pendan Dewa Malu Jungwe Ne Chenre Ziwan Tenzin Jatsoyi Shabe Site Badu Tenjurchi.
So we'll pause there. Of course, if you need to get on with your day, please feel free to do so. If you would like to hang around for questions, you are most welcome. And on that note, if anybody has a question, please let us know. Okay, this is unusual. Usually there's already some yellow hands up. Maybe Dave, can you see if there's anything on socials to get us started?
Nothing. Annie has a question.
Hello?
Hello. Hi, my question is actually about describing visualizations.
Just a moment. I cannot hear whoever this is. Your voice is very faint, so I'm going to turn up my volume. Okay, go ahead.
This is Annie.
Oh, hi, Annie. How are you? Sorry, I honestly couldn't hear you at first, but now I can. Go ahead.
And now I'm hearing my echo in your thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
My question is about when you're describing visualizations. Do you usually describe it from the point of view of the image looking at you, or from you looking at the image?
Yes. So this is a good thing to ask, Geshe, because I had an email which was saying that, I had mixed up the hands of the Tara. And I can't remember, because there's so many things that go on in one class. I can't remember exactly what I said, right? But if you look at the image of white Tara facing, if you are thinking you're doing the self-generation, right? Your left hand would be like this, and your right hand would be like that, right? Then nganso labdu ruwa, nganso dunchela tene yedang yun chegires, dachela tene yedang yun chagires. So what I asked Annie, Geshe Annie, and I'll tell you because maybe I said, do you designate left and right based on the front generation or the self generation? Is that
Right,
what you're?
yes, that's my question.
Okay. Yeah. So Geshe said that in this case, actually, it's a front generation. So you should designate left and right based upon the front generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that because it's the 21 Taras or no?
Dunchela tene yedang yun yewache karecheneres. Karinsen dunkeredua. Yeah. It doesn't, it's not because it's the 21 taras in particular. It's because we're doing a front visualization. The assembly of the 21 are in front of us rather than a self-generation, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So right now, like this, actually, these praises come from a sutra. So we're describing things according to a sutra point of view.
Okay.
This makes me even more worried about how I say left and right now, though, because like now I'm going to be totally confused. Yeah. Yeah, Geshe said, though, that like the right and left still stay the same whether you're facing north or whether you're facing south. So he doesn't think it's such a problem. I don't know.
Okay.
But I understand, Annie, because it does my head in too. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, but right and left stay the same, right? Like if I turn around, it looks like they're reversed, but it's still right and left.
Yes,
I see
but
what
it's-
Geshe is saying,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have a question. Geshe, so it starts with more of a comment, but then there's a question. So can you hear me?
No,
Oh.
I can't.
Get us.
It's really, really faint.
There, I'll turn up my gain.
And
Is
my
that better?
speaker's up.
Can you hear me?
Now I
Is that
can,
better?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, much better,
great.
much better. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is a question about purifying negative karma.
Yes.
So when you hide your negativities, this just amplifies the problem. And hearing that even just the mere thought of thinking I will conceal this, I won't divulge this, as an ordained person, made me think that it's a very public. Holding vows is a very public activity because you can't, if you have a downfall, you can't hide it if you want to keep your, so it's a very public sort of thing, right?
Well, sorry, I'm just going to say something, Dave, here, just from my side, just to clarify. So as monks and nuns, if it's a defeat offense, you're toast, essentially. Like, if you confess it, that will reduce the negative karma, but you can't wear the robes and walk around saying you're a monk or a nun anymore. There's some things that say if you're fully ordained, maybe you can become a novice again, but the community will know, and you'll be kept on the outside. But I'm just mentioning this because it's confessed within the sojong, within the monastic community. It's not like I have to like wear a placard saying I did this misdeed in the street or something, right? So public is just, it's not like that. It's like within the community. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, yeah, because that led me to think, okay, I've got a lot of negativities. How public do I need to be about this? Is it like too much information kind of thing?
I mean, I think it well could be, depending on what it is, right? I mean, like, other people might not necessarily want to know. But yes, no, I see what you're saying. So, sorry, do you want to rephrase the question? And then I'll put it to Geshe. Sorry about that.
I guess when we're doing confession, it's to the visualized field of merit. And in that case, it's not TMI, too much information. It's something like that.
Yeah, okay, I got the gist of it. Yeah, so I'll put this to Geshe. Nganso digba sana rua, nganso digba di bena rua, beala tene dene jiko tsaru chik drogire dua. Di samne dene nganso digba kari yuna micha tsangwa lab gores, mimang hako gores dabo chik samsoa. Ine chirtang chabadang ani mimang lagyo mare rua, sojong kabula, nganso So ine sojong kapla rwa chabadan ani gi kapla rwa.
Yeah. Temena la chugra washito so.
So
Moshi bata salina tuina la.
Ale micha tsama lagu mare rwa.
Acha tsama lagu mare si yili me la gana magana tenda sen solo so tani jiwa kares.
So Geshe is mentioning two things here, Dave, in relation to your question. The first thing is that we're identifying a mental thing of like, gosh, nobody can know about this, right? Of hiding it. That's what enhances the negative karma. But Geshe said in terms of confession, right, it would be done in the monastic assembly. And in the old days, even for a minor transgression, you would get up in front of the assembly and say it. Now it's more like you do this huddled as a personal confession. You are confessing to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but Geshe said, like, if you have a trusted friend or a wise and knowing advisor, sharing it with them can be helpful. You don't necessarily need to tell everybody, but you can tell someone.
마스 센제 요도로 뭐 요도로 라기 깨자요 말에 논소 라기 깨자요 말 된다 세를 손스 때때 같이 버려서
But in terms of how that negative karma gets enhanced through concealment, it's not determined by, oh, you're supposed to tell the whole world and you didn't, or oh, you're supposed to tell like your family members and you didn't. It's determined by that immediate thought of, I have to conceal this. That is what the enhancing factor is here.
다 된다 아니 아빠 휴스 되는 게 사이 송아서 매서 같이 세는 그 할비 같이 버려서
Right? So you know,
아빠 휴스 송아서 이나 된가 송아서 그 매서 송아서 지고 알아서
So what's the antidote to that? It's an attitude of, okay, I've made this mistake, and so I'm going to own up to that, and I'm not going to put a lot of energy into trying to conceal it. If you bring that forth, it would be an antidote to that mind of concealment.
Okay, thank you.
Is that clear, Dave?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay, so we had Annie's question, Dave's question. Is there anyone else we missed? I see a lot of people who look deep in thought, but nobody looks ready with a question yet. Maybe some people are thinking about lunch. I am too. Talking too much, apparently, as usual.
We do have one question from Ladan on social media.
Yes, please read it.
Hi, is the initiation of a deity give us the right to visualize ourselves as a deity?
Oh, yes. This is a complicated one because there's different types of initiation. So I'll ask the question in a way that hopefully Geshe can outline all of that. Nganso jenang chik shuna jenang giladi dache so chogires kandes chik jogiresa.
말을 다 텔응해라 나는 오치 그야레스 오차 송아치 네 디젤 제노타소노
That's not, so Geshe is saying that's not how it works. If you want to do the self-generation practice, you need either chagyu nima nigi neso yamana lamegi wangchi kro.
다 오체서 그야레스
Yeah. You need to receive a great empowerment. So that's different than a Jenang initiation, which is usually just a couple of hours. A great empowerment is many hours, and it often goes over 2 days. Once you receive one great empowerment, then any Jenang you receive, you can do the self-generation of that deity.
때문에 제농이네 오토요 말레스 오차 고실라지마도
Yeah. So before that, the Jenang initiation doesn't give you enough to do the self-generation, right? It gives you other blessings, but not enough to do the self-generation.
Yes, I.
No, this.
But
Geshe said that doesn't mean you can't do the practice, right? You do like what we just did with the taras. You visualize them in front of you and you do the recitation and the meditation like that. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Martha also has a question. Her hand is up.
Yes, I'm going to read it.
Can I read it?
Is the attachment?
Yeah.
Is
Go ahead.
the attachment to pleasure,
Can you folks hear Marta? I can't hear her at all.
Yeah, she's breaking
hear
it,
anything.
but she read it also. She put it in the chat also.
Marta, do you mind if Dave reads it because your sound is not clear, so I can't hear you? Is it okay if Dave reads it?
Okay, good.
Okay,
So Martha's question is: attachment to the pleasures of the five senses is the main cause that makes us reborn?
Do you nga gi yuldin so kewa ne kewa droya gi gyut so rebes. Do you nga gi chakpadi? Di so kewa ne kewa droya gi gyut so rebes. So korwa mutu ne kewa droya gyut so
다 대저조 나오지 저기요. 다 저도 말이 바로 왔어. 다이나 디가 요복 다 저지 저기요.
So the main one is ignorance, right? That's the main thing that's keeping us locked into rebirth. That being said, ignorance has its ministers or its servants underneath it. This attachment to the objects of the five senses, the five desirable objects of the desire realm, that's one of the main ones. Because this attachment to these objects of the five senses is what compels us into activities, right, to procure our objects of desire and so forth. And those activities cause us to accumulate a lot of karma.
야 레서 비가라요 조레 이마 레면 비가라요 다 샤파데 조지레
So these 5 objects of the desire realm are one of the main things that compel us to accumulate the karma. The 5 objects of the desire realm,
레서 비가라요 샤파데 조레 두아스
Yeah.
드니 레면 비가라요 샤파데 조레
And when the karma ripens again as those 5 objects of desire, it again ripens the latency of attachment. So in this way, you know, it's part of the story.
야루는 다 마리바데 고요용아레 조레 야보라고데 코르와스
But with all of these scenarios, it's always ignorance that is operating in the background.
야라 주니건 만에 세바 간센데문데 대지 야보다 가레스죠
Yeah, and so Geshe said, you know, sepa dang siparwa.
어다이다 알레 모바말라 야라 주니는 다 세바데 다
So when we look at existence within the 12 links of dependent arising, existence within the 12 links of dependent arising, Geshe encourages you to read about that. That will clarify your question further.
신내가 빼는 따가 이나요. 대비에 땡가 그게 나도 세팅 거 슈치원로 요아이자.
Yeah.
예보라고도 시도.
Yeah.
아니 멜로. 아니 리.
Melong dangre ale. So Geshe mentioned at the beginning of today, if you remember, this image, right, of the 9 steps for achieving calm abiding, right? And Geshe said that along that path that the monk and the elephant are walking along, you'll see beautiful trees, beautiful fruits, mirrors, pieces of cloth. Those actually represent distractions of these 5 desirous objects of the desire realm. And there's other things in the picture too, like fire. Fire here represents a positive thing. It represents the continuous warmth of joyous effort. So the whole image is very, very instructive, showing us the things that we need to cultivate and improve within the mind.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marta. Thanks for the question.
I had a question.
Yes, go ahead. I don't see who it is, but go
It's
ahead.
Margie.
Oh, hi, Marjorie. Yes,
Hi.
go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes, yes.
Okay, just a brief question. Once a monastic has given up their vows, can they not retake them in this lifetime?
Now that is a proverbial can of worms, Marjorie. Let's see what Geshe says about that. So I just want to clarify also what you're asking. Do you mean that they returned the vows without breaking them, or they broke the vow and then returned them? Because that's important.
If they return them without breaking them?
Without breaking them,
many
can they take them
Western
again?
monastics have given up their robes or given back their vows.
Yeah.
Then they could not retake them later in life, I guess is my question.
Yes. Perna chapa anichik koronso pampaji mepache konso chapa ani de tugimares dompa yarpune dompa yangar len chogiribes triwa. At the time of the Buddha, this was permitted. At the time of the Buddha, this was permitted. And now Geshe is giving a yes, but. A yes, but. Gimbichim, yeah. Yeah. Yes, but according to at least the larger Gelug monasteries of Sera, Ganden, and Drepung, as a policy rule, not as a Vinaya rule, as a policy rule, they don't allow people to retake ordination after returning the vows. And so Geshe said that he can only speak about the monasteries whose regulations he's familiar with. So this is for those 3, not necessarily for all. You'd have to look on an individual basis.
Gimsen,
Chome Pachar? So the reason that the monasteries instituted this rule is they thought if there were monks disrobing from the monastery and reordaining and coming back, and disrobing and reordaining and coming back multiple times, that this would impact the lay people's faith in the monastery, and that this would impact the qualities of the study in the monastery. But Geshe said, just to be clear, returning the vows he doesn't see as a fault necessarily, because that's a personal decision, right? Like you don't want to or cannot live in the vows, so you return those vows, and when you do that, you don't incur the karma of breaking vows. So being able to return the vows is very important. So there is some level of fault to returning, right? So there's some kind of karma involved with returning. The only case where there's none whatsoever is if your life was in danger. For example, there was a war or something kind of like that just was preventing your livelihood. So Geshe said that it's durwa nangla yomares chechogireshine pepe gompa chatsangwa hamokoine gompa dinsola shochogimara. Yeah. So Geshe said in the Vinaya it is not prohibited to receive the vows again. This is very clear. But he wants to say in most Tibetan monasteries, he cannot guarantee this, you'd have to ask each individually, but in most Tibetan monasteries, it is not permitted to give the robes back and then take robes again. Yeah. Shucho. So Geshe wants to present this in a capsule. It is not that the person cannot take ordination again. This is permitted. However, monastic communities would often cases not allow the person to live in that community again if they disrobe and come back. So it's a rule of residency at the monastery. But in the Vinaya, it's absolutely clear the person can take ordination again. And Geshe said, we have to think about the mentality behind this regulation at the monastery. It's because they want the institution to be supportive of the vows, and they want the institution to be a foundation for the Buddha Dharma abiding longer in this world, right? That's why they have additional regulations. So anyway.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Marjorie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we let you go?
Go ahead, Jordan.
Yes, Jordan, go ahead.
Hi. So I just have a question about visualization and tantric practice. So as somebody who is colorblind, and my understanding, colors are not just visual inputs, they're encoded with some elements and qualities. I'm just wondering what advice there is for someone who has difficulty differentiating between colors.
So just just to make the question really precise, Jordan, like, do you see in black and white, or it's just like there's certain kinds of green and red that you can't see?
Just certain shades. Like I can see certain colors, but it's hard to differentiate.
It's hard to differentiate. Gotcha. Yeah. Mi kashe konso semla katu gilongen segire dua. Disana koronso yul tong tugire suk tong tugire sine tsushi yewachea samsam kale kabore dua. Dene kierim nang ranganso la se tabia dang lagi katok dinso gymsen dang jinla dramandra yutsang. Dene kandesla gore katok longen yina nyamlenchia gi kalok kandes chikeres.
Meta tedo kol kejeshine tandren tasishin sono toshus.
Yeah.
Zotandren sono toshus.
Ine konso tsushi tong tu gimendusa nangla. Dit longen res konso katok longen re duas. Yeah, mikashi nge pala dita pore ko marpo dang ngompo yewache mituba kensachi.
Meta tedo hal shirale yomare. Lai kuzuzo de koro dodo de gojan.
Yeah, so Geshe said that, it depends on the problem and the particular color, right? Because it's particular colors. But he said that, he would say, don't worry. Just focus on what you can do. which is the Buddha figure's shape, which is the Buddha figure's dress, various implements, posture, and so forth. Just focus on that.
Great.
And we talk about sal, so we talk about clear appearance and divine pride, and Geshe thinks that the shape of the deity and their various implements and their body and the other factors of them, even in the absence of color, that will be enough, to start on the generation stage practice.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, this. So if there are no further questions, Geshe will end today's session with a very short story, and then we will go for the day. So this is a story about how karma, in terms of virtuous karma, may be relatively easy to accumulate. But if we don't have emptiness and so forth as an assisting factor, it's also easy for that positive potential to degenerate or be lost. So there was a king who had a very powerful itch in the space between his eyebrows that he was always scratching. Okay, and so from it's a little bit esoteric. So from continuously scratching in the space on his head, there was like this fluid-filled sac that formed, and inside this there was a little baby, there was a fetus. So Geshe said he's not sure if it was a king or a high caste person, but anyway, some person, a male person, and they had this fetus sac where he was scratching. Yeah. And so the son who was born from the forehead, he had a lot of positive qualities, was a very powerful, intelligent, and strong person, and eventually he gathered the power to become the king of the kingdom. So he became known as the crown-born king, because he was born from like the forehead and the space around the crown. And like a god of the Deva realm, he was so powerful that just through kind of his magnetism, he was able to attract many people and many lands to become his subjects. So someone asked the Buddha about this king and how he would have accumulated the causes for this story and this power. Yeah, okay. So in a previous lifetime, this person, the crown-born, the king crown-born, he was also a king in his previous lifetime. And he was betrothed to a queen. And just as they were about to go through with the marriage rituals, at that time along the path came the Buddha of that time period. Not Shakyamuni, but another Buddha of that time period. And because so at that time, so with Vedic rituals, during a marriage ceremony, you offer a homa, a fire sacrifice. So at that time, the husband and the wife, they were throwing grains into the fire. And without an intention, some of those grains, they hit the Buddha of that time period.
Okay, that's about what this is.
Geshe said they were throwing grains. It's a homa, it's a sacrifice. And he's not sure if it was a homa. Anyways, they were doing some ritual where let's keep it general. They were doing some ritual where they were throwing the grains. And 4 of those grains that kind of fell around the Buddha, they fell into that Buddha's alms bowl that he was carrying. Each of those 4 grains accumulated the equivalent merit necessary to hold each of the 4 continents under one's power. And that was how, in the subsequent lifetime, he became this great king. So, ultimately, right, from a spiritual perspective, this act of generosity didn't get him to a realization of emptiness or bodhicitta. But in terms of a temporal or worldly situation, he kind of reached the pinnacle of that, a ruler over the equivalent of 4 continents. So sometimes, right, accumulating a powerful virtue is easier than one thinks, based on the power of the object. So because of the power of the object, if you are fortunate enough to have in your home an image of the Buddha, an image of Tara, and so forth, if when you make your offerings and do your practice, you see them as being the embodiment really of that deity, you can come to great benefit. So let's be really clear. Meditation, your development of wisdom and positive mental qualities, this is by far the most important things. However, our accumulation of merit and our ritual practices can act as an enhancement to be able to have success in those. So we slowly put more and more imprints in the mind, we engage in the accumulations, and know that even if we don't necessarily reach the realization like we want to have it right now, just to be patient that if we continue to do those things, we will get there. Loso. So thank you very much. We will end the class here. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and if you're free, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Take care.